Alright, this is the black and white to color assignment, and as a class we should have done this one together. And if you're just starting the assignment, you can see I give you several to choose from, 4 to be precise. This first one is this particular picture, and because it's very complicated and there's a lot going on with it, you only have to do half if you choose this one. These other 3 are much more simple, so that if you do choose these particular pictures, you do have to color the entire picture. But here's this one. Very important thing to remember is layers. Layers are huge when you're doing this assignment, so you have to make sure that you're adding layers. In fact, for safety's sake, I will oftentimes lock this background layer just so I don't accidentally color it. So then I'll go ahead and I'm going to come to layer 1 and choose which half you're going to color. And I like to start out with the lasso tool, and I use the polygon lasso. And, zoom in if you need to. There is no point in being far away when you don't need to be. So, if I take the polygon lasso tool, I can do things fairly quickly because it does nice straight lines. So I can kind of select everything that I'm going to color. And I might need to go back and do a little bit of touch-ups later. But let's just do this little section. So you just kind of trace, you click. Each time you click, it makes a straight line. So there's a basic selection I made. Now I'm going to go ahead and call this one brick so that I can keep it separate. And then you choose a color for your brick. So you want to go darker than you think. So like if I'm going for red, I'm going to go for a really dark red. And then I would take my paintbrush, and the nice thing is I can make my paintbrush huge and just color it. Oh, my opacity is really low, 100%. Just color the whole thing. Because it's selected, I don't have to worry about it accidentally selecting something else. So now I'll just go ahead and I'll switch my layer type from normal to overlay. And now you can see the color through there, and then you just Control D to deselect, and you select a new section. So let's say that, I'll go through and I'll do all the brick. Then maybe, next thing is I'll do the bench. So I would label it bench, and I'd use the polygon lasso tool again. Zoom in on the bench. And then just, I would go ahead and select things. And, if you find that some areas you messed up on, once again, you can always go back and do a little bit of touching up if you need to. So I'll just select the bench there, connects it. Oh, where did I start this thing? There you go. You can always double click if you can't find the end. And I'll actually hold down Shift so that I can continue to. Well, actually, no, I'll do that later. Never mind. Escape. And I'll take my paintbrush and I'll choose a different color for my bench. Oh, maybe I'll go for kind of a brownish yellow color. And I'll go through and clean that up, the extra that I selected that I didn't want. Set it to overlay. Then I could take my polygon tool, Control D to start again. Do this quick select. Do Shift so I can just get the other ones that and I'm trying to be really kind of go fast so that I don't waste a lot of tutorial time. So then I could just take my eraser tool, make that a little bigger. Get rid of those gaps, because in this particular gap, that's where my brick needs to be. So I could go back to my brick layer. This selection is still here. I got off of this color though. So the way that you can get a color back is you can use what's called the eyedropper tool. Where are you, eyedropper tool? Oh, that's interesting. I can't do. Oh, there it is. So if I click on here though, you'll see it's not actually the same color. But if I turn off overlay, click, Then I could turn, overlay back on. I've selected the color. Whoops, don't scroll through when you got that selected. Now I can go back to my paintbrush now that I've selected the correct color and make sure I'm on my brick layer and then just paint there, Control D, okay? So you just go ahead and you do that with lots of different areas. The last thing that I'll say is the sky. The sky is the only thing you can't quite do the same way. So let's say I make my sky layer. And I'll use my polygon lasso tool to at least get this part. I'll have to go do a little bit of extra touch up on the edges, but I can at least start here. Now overlay doesn't work with things that are white. So if I go ahead and on my sky layer, I'm painting this color. And if I switch this to overlay, you'll see that all it did is tint my trees, because anything that's white, it doesn't show. So you can mess around with a few different options. Darken kind of works, but not great. Multiply can work. Green, little linear burn's not bad. So you just kind of scroll through your options. Multiply's a good one. Yeah, you can see that not all of them will work at all. So multiply works well, but you can see that the color isn't great. So I can either switch the color, or you could actually just go to fill and just kind of click and decrease it until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I like that. Control D to deselect, and then I can take my paintbrush and maybe lower the opacity a little bit so I'm not going to paint, and then I'll just kind of touch up some of the edges. Maybe bump up my opacity a little more, because you don't want to have this hard line. So if I paint over it just lightly, I'd rather have a little bit of blue going on than have this stark line that. And when I paint the roof of these two things, it'll make it so the blue, isn't as noticeable. And I can always take my eraser tool and, clean up. Oops, don't go too far though, otherwise I just undid what I did. So just kind of go along with the eraser and maybe get the worst of it, the parts that are really, blue that I don't want to look too blue. So there you go. Just continue coloring this. Then don't forget that part of on the rubric, in fact, I'll go click on it right now. One of the things that you need is that you need to have your text that has your name and the assignment, which is black and white to color. Make sure that you file save as a JPEG and just make it look good. And then you can go ahead and finish it up and turn it into Canvas. So good luck, and let me know if you need any help.